Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Tech Tuesday, presented by Delta Media Group, where, we realize that Tom's a people person. He's got people skills, so that's why he's needed to talk to the customers so that the software engineers don't have to. So, today we're going to go into the DeltaNet and we are going to take a look at something that's actually we're going to go over again by request. It comes down to basically adding and removing customers from the DeltaNet, or adding and deleting customers. So let's jump into the DeltaNet and take a look. So this is something that we mainly wanted to go in here and clarify, because we went over it, I think, in the past, but not so much with the newer version of the DeltaNet. So why not take another look? So to set this up, we're going to go down to Customers and Customer Center. And this is the first of a handful of ways you can get customers entered into the DeltaNet. So if I scroll down here to the Actions widget here, you can see one of the buttons says Add Customer. Now also, and this is particularly useful for mobile, when you first log in, by default you'll find yourself on this Welcome page. Now you may also find yourself on the dashboard depending on your company and whether the agent dashboard is set up. But I'm under Home and Welcome. If I scroll down a bit, you can see there is a green button here that says Add New Customer. So you can also get to the same interface to add in customers from here. So that can be, like I said, particularly handy on mobile, because the idea is, you get out your phone, you log in, the first page you land on, in a lot of cases, is going to be this page where you can add in your customers when you need to. Now another thing you can do, and you don't see it up here because of the way I'm logged into the system, but there would be a button up here that says Make This My Start Page. So one thing you could do, if most of what you do in the DeltaNet is customer management, so you want to get in there and get to your customers really quickly, you could go to Customers and Customer Center to put yourself on the Customer Center here, and you can see that this is a solid page for this, because you've got your unprocessed requests here at the top of the page, so those are right in front of you. Your ability to add new customers, get to existing customers and their contact info, all that stuff is easy to get to from this page. So you could go here and then click the button up here that says Make This My Start Page. So then from that point on, every time you log in, it's going to take you straight to the Customer Center first. So it's kind of a handy tidbit, I guess. So to add a customer, I'm going to scroll down here and click on Add Customer. I'm going to give them a first name. Can't think of anything creative this morning. It's a long night. The best customer. I don't think I have any of the best customers in there. So, and you can see on this, generally, first name, last name, and email address is kind of the minimum of what you'll want to put in here. But it'll accept, more or less information however you want. So there is label printing functionality in the DeltaNet. So you can put in someone without an email address, just with a physical address, and then use them to just, for the label printing functionality if you want. But generally, first name, last name, and email address. You can also add in a title. Envelope salutation is what will be used on the printed labels. So specifically, if you want the stuff that you mail to them to have a different salutation on it rather than just their name, you can do that here. So we could do Mr., but if we want the envelope salutation to be Dr. the Best Customer. There we go. So you could set that up however you want, and you can kind of see the possibilities there. The next is display name or email salutation. So this is the salutation that can be picked up for any emails that the system sends out automatically to them. Or if you set them up for an email campaign, or you send them an email blast, this is what it would use as the email salutation. So if you wanted their name to appear differently there instead of just using their first name or last name, you can customize that. As we move down here, primary email address you'll generally want to put in here. And you can add in additional email addresses, and you can also choose to CC them on those emails. And you can give, if you're putting in custom email addresses, you can give them a custom label also. But the idea would be, if I have a husband and wife that I'm setting up a customer account for, and I want the same correspondence to go to both of them, I could put in the email address of one here as the primary, and then put in the email address of the spouse here, and check this CC and system emails box, and then emails will go to that address also. And you can see we have a handful of presets here for different alternate email addresses. We can put in their phone numbers if we have it. The nice thing about phone number, and I'll go ahead and enter one in cell phone so that we can see it. So for these phone numbers, the nice thing about this is on the customer profile page, the system will put a little icon next to the phone number that allows me to kick off my dialer or whatever my call handler or SMS message handler is on my computer so that I can send them text messages and call them directly from the DeltaNet. And I'll give you some more details on that when we look at it. But the idea is it's not logging in that in the DeltaNet, like we're not making the call, we're not sending the text, but what it's doing is when you click on it, if you're using your mobile device, for example, it'll open up your text messaging app and then automatically insert their phone number so that you can just type them out of text. So it's more of a convenience feature than anything else. And as we keep going down, we have our social media links here. So if you know the URLs of their social media profile pages, you can put those in here, and you can see you can add one for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube right now. So you would just choose which one it is and paste in their link. And if you want to add another, you click on Add Another, and then Instagram, and paste in the URL. So that lets you get all their social media URLs in here so that you can really easily, get to their pages and kind of keep up on what they're doing. And, when you call them or when you reach out to them while you're prospecting, you have something to talk about because you know what they just posted. And down the line, address, clear-cut enough, just physical address for them. I can put in their group association here if I want. So if I have groups or my customers segmented into groups in the DeltaNet, this is where I would select what group I want to add them to if I want to add them to one right away. And I can add them in later if I want. I can give them a label, and that will be displayed in their customer detailed list. So the way they show up there, if I want to use these labels to kind of keep an eye on where they are, like in my pipeline, I can do that here. And we're going to expand on that down the road. But for now, that's what the labels are. I can put in their spouse name, kid's name, and average home price. I think it's generally the price that they're looking for. And there you go. So that is page one of the customer. So I haven't put a lot of information in here, but I'll go ahead and save it. Now at that point, my customer is added. So that customer is in the system. I don't have to do anything else. So if I'm done, I can just click on Finish, and then I can go back, see that customer's profile page, reach out to them, start adding notes to them, start adding them to campaigns or email blasts. Like I can do all that at this point. Basically, I'm done entering this customer if I want to be. But it'll also take me through a wizard here where I can add more information and send them a notification that I entered them. So the first thing we have is company information. So I would enter the name, address of their company, job title if I want to add all that information, if I have it. And generally our philosophy here is when adding customers, the more information you have, the better. So if you have it, put it in. If I don't have this, but I want to continue on with the process, I hit skip. If I do have this and I filled it in, I would hit save and continue to move on to the next step. But in this case, I'll skip it. Now the next thing I have here is I can add a note for this customer that it's going to put in as the first note for them. I can put in some real basic information to set up a saved search for them, and later on I can really create like a fine-tuned saved search. But the idea is this is a convenient way that if I just know, a zip code that they're interested in and their price range and beds, baths, I can get this entered really quickly as part of my customer entry process and then not have to go back and do it later on. So if I want to, it'll autocomplete as I type things in here, and I can give my price range. The old 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And you can see all the basic information I can put in here for a saved search. And then if I turn on email notifications, that's going to ensure that every time the system finds a new listing that matches this search criteria, it'll email this customer that new listing. So keep going down the line. I can also opt to send them all of the initial results of this search based on the criteria I have. So instead of just sending them new listings as they come up after this day, it'll send them everything it finds today, and then after this day, every time it finds a new one, it'll send another email. And if we turn on open houses, then it'll also send them open house notifications each week. So if there are no new listings that match their criteria, but there are listings or open houses for listings that match their criteria, it can do that also. So I would turn that on. Add to my customer for life campaign. So you can see right here there's a note that says I have my customer for life campaign set up to automatically add all new customers. So in this case, it doesn't make sense for me to add them because I'm already adding everybody. But if you're not adding everybody, there will be a little radio button here. You just switch it to yes, and then that'll add them to your My Customer for Life campaign automatically. So they start getting those without me doing anything beyond, going through this customer entry wizard. The next thing you can do here is set up a market watch. Works basically the same way as saved search, only the only thing you have to put in here is the market. There we go, my My Chrome is auto-completing for me, so. So there we go. And tell it to send the MarketWatch emails, or I can just save them and not actually send them out, but they'll be attached to their account. Choose the day I want to send. Now, you'll notice when you go in and create a MarketWatch through their profile page, you have a lot of customization options at your disposal where you can really fine-tune that search by market and by the types of properties you're looking for and the pricing of properties. This is meant to be just a trimmed-down version. The idea is this is all happening during customer creation, so this is something you can run through real fast without going through a whole bunch of additional options. So all those options are available to you, but this is the simple way to just get the stuff in there quickly. So if that looks good, we'll click on Save and Continue, or like the last step, we can skip this step. Or if we didn't want to fill out anything here and then just wanted to be done, we can also click on Finish, and those options are available in all of them. So we'll hit Save and Continue. Now I can add in their selling information if I want, if they are a seller. We'll skip that one. And then next, I get to the option where I can send them a welcome message. So what this will do is fire off this email to whatever specifications I choose. So right now, this is the subject, this is the message content. So I can customize that if I want, or I can just leave it the way it is, hit Send and Continue, and it'll fire off this email. If I don't want it to send, I'll hit Skip. The main thing of note here is that if I don't make it to this step and hit Send and Continue, it's not going to notify the customer that I created an account for them. And I mean, you may not always want it to. So that's kind of why we leave you with the option there. Like you could even run through this whole thing and then just skip this step when you get to it because you don't want it to send the email. So in this case, we'll hit Send and Continue. Why not? That email address is fake anyway, so well, it's probably fake. And then the last thing you can do here is you can create a to-do. So what this will do is by default, it sets itself to 2 weeks out, but you can change that date to whatever you choose. And this is the reminder it'll create that'll pop up on that date. So when you come into the DeltaNet on that day, you'll be able to look at your to-dos, and this will be one of them. And save and finish. And that's all there is to it. We've added a customer to the DeltaNet. Now, like I said, after we put in their initial contact information at the beginning, just name and email address if that's all we have, we could have just clicked finish and been done right away. So you don't have to go through all those steps, but you can if you want to make it kind of part of your workflow for adding these in, so you get as much information and stuff in there as possible. Now, if we scroll down the line here, we've got our customer detailed list. Now this will show everybody we've added to the system. And if you see here, as I type in their name, or if I were to select a group, it'll automatically filter this list down to what I'm typing or whatever selection I make up here in these filters. So since I typed here's my new customer, the best customer. If I click on them, that takes me through to their profile page. Now from here, we have other videos where we've gone over the profile page, and I'm sure we'll do more as we make changes to this page where we really go through it in detail. But for now, just know that this is the information page for your customer. So you can click Edit Profile to change any of their contact information here. You can add notes. As we scroll down the line, you can create to-dos for this customer. This is where you would save properties for them. You would add saved searches and market watches. And you can see that the saved search we created during setup is saved in here already. And the same goes for the market watch we created. So we can see any of the existing ones. Or if they saved a search on the public side, we could see those also. And as we go down the line, if we wanted to add them to campaign, see their history, any messages back and forth from that customer are logged here. Like this is when we created the portfolio account. I chose to send that message, so here it is logged in my messages section. And if I wanted to create any reverse prospecting reports or the AVM reports for this customer, I could. So this is where you find all of that customer-specific stuff. And then if I wanted to remove this customer, I can just roll right over here where it says delete this customer, click on it, it'll ask me to confirm it, confirm delete, and this customer goes away. So that's all there is to it, adding and deleting customers. Now, a couple things I wanted to point out is that when it comes to adding customers, that is the manual method for adding them in. But know that if I go to Customer Center, I also have an option here for import-export. So if I had a CSV of customers I wanted to import, I can go through this process to do that. And again, we have other videos on this, and we'll go through this further in the future as well. Import customers, select the type, select the CSV. The other way the customers get into the system is if they make a request on my website or make a request on the company website and get assigned to me. So those become my customers and are automatically added to my Customer Center. One thing to note there is if I delete a customer that came from the company or one that was assigned to me from the company, then that customer isn't actually deleted depending on the company settings. So The idea is that's a company lead, so if it's deleted, it gets reverted to the company, just unassigned from me. And that depends on the company settings. So every company is a little bit different as to how they choose to handle those. And then lastly, the way that I can get customers added into the system without putting them in by hand like this is we have integrations down here for Google and Office 365. So if I click on Google, I have a Google Contacts option. If I click on that, it gives me the option to authorize my Google account, and then I can have all the contacts in my Google account synced over to the DeltaNet and vice versa. So it'll keep those accounts synced. And you can do the same thing with Office 365. So if I click Office 365 and Contacts, I would click the Setup Authorization button and just follow through the wizard to do the same thing. And we do have videos already on the Google integration, but we'll add more of those in the future as we build out that system. And the same goes for the Office 365 authorization stuff. But those are the different ways that you can get customers into the platform. So, as always, thanks a lot for joining me this week. It was a pleasure. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to comment on our video on either Facebook or YouTube or any of our videos. Send an email into support@deltagroup.com or just give us a call. So, thanks a lot for joining me, and I will see you next week.